Welcome back and thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. You will recall from an earlier video that we prepared this Tablecentre arrangement. What we're going to do now is have a look at some alternatives that we could use where we didn't want to particularly put flowers into it. So I'm going to utilise the agapanthus and show you how you can adjust it just to make it all green if you wanted to. So we'll remove the existing flower heads of agapanthus. Nicely wedged in that one. And obviously we'll leave that one, it's got the seeds on it already, seed heads on it already. And we're just going to trim down, take off essentially all of these flower heads, so that we're left with just the green spray. And it really is simply as easy as pulling them off. You will lose some in the process, but there's plenty there for you to be able to use in the way that we're going to use them. What this does is give you an interesting structure and texture for your design. We've got the smoothness of the balls, even though some of them are glittering, so they're a little bit rough to the eye. But this gives you a repetition of the form, that rounded form, when you have all the flower heads off. And we can also adjust it. So these are particularly useful for keeping as longer term items for your designs, because you can spray them. So, and you can spray them in colours with paint, so that they will give you an interesting form that is plant-based. And for those competitions where you can use a bit of coloured plant material, then you can get away with using them that way. Now, let's get rid of those. Do this other one quickly through the magic of video. Here is the other one. Now, when we look at these, they are by nature a rounded shape, which works well with what we've got here in terms of our structure for our design. But as I said to you in an earlier episode, I did start experimenting with shapes, and so I've made some little tree-like ones or diamond-shaped ones which can go into the design. And it is as simple as cutting them, as using the scissors and deciding what sort of shape you want. I'm not going to do that one because it's got the seed heads on. But I will do this one. So we could just trim it so that it didn't have so many points sticking up, so it was evenly round. And once again, this is about having a good eye. You could use a template so that you manage to get it more even. If you were doing it with the round way, like as I am here, then think about the other plant material. If you wanted to put flowers in, you might want to use green trick carnations, because they have that round, fluffy appearance. Some pom-pom dahlias, perhaps. Gives you a bit more of the evenly rounded shape. We could then go for some straight lines. So how I've got the triangles there, we could go for some. We could square it off. and give you a squarer shape, or you could go for the tree shape, which I quite like in these. What I do with that is I take all of the ones off right at the stem that are pointing downwards, because that detracts from the final shape that you're trying to get. Takes your eye away from the triangular, the pyramid shape that you're trying to get. And then it's a matter of cutting them in to the high point that you've set for yourself in the middle of the grouping. I know that there'll be some of you out there who are more gardeners than you are floral artists who will be horrified at the manipulation and destruction of this particular piece of plant material. But this is art, and there are things that we will do for our art. And there we have another one of our points. Let's see what we can... Now, this has obviously got a very thick stem, so we're going to have to trim it down. The green side there so that we can have that showing in the design. Trimming. And so there we have it in our design, just placed there. You'll see that these ones have been cut for probably 3 or 4 days, so they're starting to dry out. Once again, I don't mind them drying out in a design, but you could paint them. You could, once they're cut like this fresh, you can spray them with a little bit of glue sealant or hairspray, and that will hold them for a few days in that design. I'm going to train our foliage, which we'll leave in there for the time being. Now, for the rest of the design, it is simply a matter of taking the flower heads, and with this one obviously I've left the seed heads on because it gives me a little bit of a different texture, a little bit of a different look for the design. I'm going to cut that off completely at the base of the flower head, and they're just going to be pushed into the design so they form part of they bring the green down to the base of the design. The other thing I could do with these is bring through this colour. So these are just standard ordinary bamboo sticks, and I've painted them so that they match the colour, the balls that I've got there. I could use them on their own and just have them sticking up to bring the colour through the design. Like that. It gives it a little bit of a different look. Let's get rid of some of this mess for you. I could utilise them to bring the balls up higher. So with some of the ones where we have taken the cap off and just sit them on, I can slide them down. And how successful that will be. It's a fairly thin join on it, so we might just tuck in there. But what I can also do, of course, is match the placement I've got down there with a placement up here. So I would take the stem off this one, and just twist it on till it's in place. And that gives you a totally different look for your design. Still a little bit festive. This one might be better for New Year. You could do all of your agapanthus heads in different colours, and so it would look like fireworks. Perhaps you could have them, you know, at all different levels. So it might, you know, so if it was, say it was New Year, let's take this one out. And we'll put the spike in. We're just placing it straight into the fleshy part of the base of there, and back into our design. What we want to ensure is that these two are not at the same level, because if they're at the same level, it squares off your design. So in fact, I'd probably bring that one either much higher or bring it down, or have it facing out the other way. There's a quick way of repurposing your festive base that you've made with the balls, utilising seed heads and greenery rather than flowers. I don't like the way that's going that way, but play around with it, and the idea of the video is to give you some food for thought so that you can go away and try it yourselves.